Hi everyone, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome. In this video, we'll explore the question, what are the best introductory board war games? I'll go through a ranked list of my top 20 favorite games that you can use to either get started in board wargaming yourself or introduce a friend to wargaming. Now, about 2 years ago, I made a video that covered my top introductory war games, but since that time, I've played dozens of games that would qualify for a list like this. So this is my updated, revised, and brand new look at the question. Because this is still one of the most common questions I get asked on videos. What's a good way to get started in wargaming? What would you suggest I do to introduce someone to board war games? What are some great introductory games? There are criteria in order for a game to be on this list. 7 in all. Let's go through them. First up, the game has to be, obviously, easy to learn with a good rule set and not overly complex. Second, the game should connect to history. War games are often called historical conflict simulations. So as you're playing this game, you should feel connections to a historical context. It could be fictional that the game sits in. Third, another obvious one, it has to be fun. When you're playing the game, is it good? Does it have good mechanics? Does it bring the table to life? The game's got to be fun. 4, and this is a new criteria based on feedback from the previous video, the game has to be readily available. So it has to be something that people can find with just a little bit of effort. 5, and this is a big one for me, the game should connect to more advanced and intermediate wargame concepts. Things like zones of controls, movement rates, combat range, lines of sight. So that as you're playing this game, you're learning some mechanics and things that are going to help you dig deeper into the hobby. 6, the game's got to look good. Visual appeal and design matter. The map's got to be pretty. The counters have to entice you to want to play. Especially if you're trying to introduce a friend to a war game, it's got to look good. Number 7, last but not least, the game's got to play reasonably fast. So there should be some element of the game that is playable in an hour or two. So you can have a friend over for dinner, teach them the game, and play them the game in a single sitting. In addition to ranking my current top 20 games, at the end of the video, I'll go through 15 candidates that are either games I haven't picked up yet, haven't had a chance to play yet, or are future releases that I think are candidates to take a spot on this list, because this is very much an evolving project. Before we start out on this journey, I want to mention one of our channel sponsors, Noble Knight Games, which is a board game retailer in Wisconsin that ships all over the world. They have new games, used games, and they also buy your old games if you're looking to sell some. So if you end up looking for some of the games on this list, they might be a good source for you to check out. And if you do use some of the links in the video description down below, thanks very much, as it does help out the channel. And with all that said, it's now time to explore our top 20 introductory war games. Let's get started with number 20 on our list, Iwo Jima 1945 from Worthington Publishing. Solitaire game. You take charge of the US forces attacking the island of Iwo Jima against the Japanese forces in World War II. Beautiful game, easy to learn, plays in about an hour. Fantastic game to explore as a beginning wargamer if you're interested in particular in the theme of this game. It's not higher on my list because it's brutally hard. So you have to both play well and get lucky in order to come out a victor in this game, but a fantastic way to get started in wargaming. Number 19 on my list is really number 19's on my list. It's 4 games in the same series, the Travel Solitaire series from Worthington Publishing. French and Indian War take charge of either the French or the British forces in the the French and Indian War. Europe at War 1940 lets you take charge of the German forces in World War II and try to conquer Europe. I should mention all these games are solitaire, learnable in about 15 minutes and playable in under a half an hour. Good point-to-point mechanics and involve some die roll modifiers, so they start to introduce you to more advanced wargame concepts. Pacific War 1942, take charge of the US forces in the Pacific War in World War II. War of 1812, play as the Americans in the War of 1812 against the British. All 4 of these games, great ways to get started, very easy to learn. They're not higher on my list because they are, again, rather hard to win at. You need to both be good and lucky in order to come out a victor in these games, but a great way to get started with some solo games and wargaming. Number 18 is a game you probably haven't heard of, but you should hear of this. This is a really good game. That's one of the kind of the hidden gems, I think, of introductory war games. Tank Clash Western Front from Amoeba Games. This game allows you to have German or US tanks, hex encounters. It's got cards, it's got dice rolls. Each tank has different characteristics. It involves a surprisingly amount of strategy and wargaming concepts. Great game because it's got playful art, so it's got a really good choice, I think, if you're trying to introduce kids into wargaming. Tank Clash Western Front from Amoeba Games is a fantastic introductory wargame. Game number 17, La Résistance from Flying Pig Games. In this game, it's a card and dice-based game that you take charge of French resistance forces fighting against the Germans in World War II. Now, each player leads their own band of French resistance forces, so even though you're trying to compete to be the best band of French resistance forces, it's a kind of a light competitive element and a little bit of a cooperative element in there. In this game, a lot of fun. I played this with my wife and another friend who are not wargamers. My wife is the last person I think would like a wargame. She really enjoyed this one. This is a great choice. Plays it in a single evening. I taught my wife how to play it in under 10 minutes. Really good introductory wargame. La Résistance from Flying Pig Games. Game number 16, Louisburg 1758, also from Worthington Publishing. You might sense a theme here. They make very accessible war games, so they're a good company to look for if you're looking to get started in the hobby. In Louisburg 1758, it takes us back to the French and Indian War. You're either going to take charge of the French forces trying to defend the siege of Louisburg, or the British forces trying to take the city. Now, this is a block-based game, two-player game. It does not very good as a solitaire choice, but a fantastic two-player game that's easy to learn and playable in under a couple of hours, single sitting game. There are a number of block-based games that I think would fall into this introductory war game category. This is one that I've played that I think fits particularly well. At some point, I'm going to try to play more, perhaps make a video on all the block-based introductory war games. Louisburg 1758, though, is a great place to start. Game number 15 on our list, Aces of Valor from Legion Wargames. In this solitaire game of World War I aerial combat, you take charge of a German, French, British, or American air squadron, lead them on a series of linked missions in a campaign during World War I. This is one of a number of games in this subgenre of solitaire games where you take charge of a submarine or a ship or a plane or a small squadron or a tank and lead it on a series of missions in a campaign game. Very accessible game. It's probably a little bit high in the complexity side for an introductory category game, but it fits in the category. It's just one of the more challenging ones out of the 20 that I've picked. A little bit light on decision making, but a fantastic narrative spinner. It's got that one more turn, one more mission feel to it. Absolutely fantastic game if you want to explore that type of subgenre of wargaming. Aces of Valor from Legion Wargames. Game number 14 on the list was game number 5 in my previous video of best introductory war games, Resist, designed by David Thompson, Rogers Tankersley, and Trevor Benjamin. This game puts you in 1936. You're in charge of the Spanish Marquis resistance fighters fighting against Franco in Spain. Now, this is a card-based game. It's a little bit light on war game mechanics, so that's why it's probably not stayed so high on my list, but the gameplay is fantastic. Visual appeal and the art of the cards is great. I love the thinking that involves this game, and the war-based theme of this game is just spectacular. So many positive things with this one. It's hard for me to imagine a list of my top introductory games without this one on, even though admittedly, it is a little bit light on war game mechanics. Still, fantastic gameplay, so many pluses here. Resist from Salt and Pepper Games. Game number 13 on my list, I debated because it's a little bit complex for a top introductory wargame list, but I think it deserves a place here. And, well, let me talk about it. Rebel Fury from GMT Games and designed by Mark Herman. This is an American Civil War game with some very unique mechanics. I think it's a little bit challenging to put very high on an introductory game list because the rules are a little bit complex for an introductory game list. But it's easy to teach someone this, so if you can find someone that knows this game and they can teach it to you, you'll be up and playing in about 15 to 20 minutes. American Civil War, there's a ton of interest in the topic. 6 scenarios inside with a very unique movement system, and once you've got the rules down, this plays really fast and fun. So I think this is a game, if you've got someone that's a little bit more determined to dig into a rule set, this is a great choice for an American Civil War two-player game, Rebel Fury from GMT Games and designed by Mark Herman. Game number 12 on the list covers a controversial historical topic that I think more designers should dig into. It shows how games can involve us in ethical and interesting moral questions that we otherwise might not consider. I'm talking about Onoda from Salt and Pepper Games. Now, this is a solitaire game where you play the role of Hiro Onoda and his compatriots as they try to survive on a Pacific island for 3 decades after World War II. Onoda is the historical Japanese soldier who kept fighting the war for about 30 years past when the war ended. Dedicated to his mission, he never gave up his cause. This game lets you explore the questions of whether Onoda was a hero or a villain. It brings up controversial and difficult topics. It's a great game for exploring the ethics behind history and challenging us to think about things in ways that we may not have considered. Brilliant gameplay as well, with spectacular art, a very challenging game, very, very fun, very deserving of its spot on Best Introductory Wargames. Onoda, solitaire game from Salt and Pepper Games. Game number 11 on my list arguably isn't a war game, but it is a historical conflict simulation game, Votes for Women, from Fort Circle Games and designed by Tori Brown. In this game, it is a 60-year battle for suffrage. Now, this is a game that's playable solo or cooperative or two-player. I think it shines best in solo and cooperative, but a fantastic game loaded with historical artifacts. As you play this game, you can see all of the different historical forces that came to bear on women's suffrage. If you've got kids and you want to have them engage in a fun game that's going to teach them about history, especially if you're a father and you have a daughter that you'd like to share a tabletop board game with, I think it's hard to go wrong with this one. It's not hard to learn. It plays in an hour or so once you get the rules down. Fort Circle Games Votes for Women is probably my #1 educational game on this introductory war games list, but certainly deserving of its spot on a top 20 list. As we slide into our top 10, I just want to make mention that any of these 20 games I would recommend as a beginning introductory war game. There's dozens of games that I've played that aren't on this list, so if you see something you like on this list, even because one is ranked higher than the other, doesn't mean it's not a good game. And without any further delay, let's slide into our top 10 with Tank on Tank East Front, Tank on Tank West Front from Lock and Load Publishing. These are both hex encounters, tank combat games set in World War II. Fantastically easy to learn. There's a ton of scenarios in each box. I think these would be great games to learn with kids, and they play off the fundamentals of more complicated hex encounters war games. These are great games. Now, if I were to say, why aren't they hard? They're a little bit dice chucking luck dependent. I think probably more so than I would like to see them way up high on the list, but you cannot go wrong with these as introductory hex encounters war games to introduce people to all of those wonderful concepts, as well as highlighting some of the excitement that can happen when you've got tank on tank World War II combat. Great choices. Game number 9 on my list is actually a contender for this list from the previous video. I've since had a chance to play it. Downfall of Empires from Do It Games. This might be a game you have not heard of yet. Do It Games is a Spanish game company that makes fantastic stuff. Strategic level game, 2 to 4 players of World War I. It's a little bit higher complexity. It's on the higher end of introductory complexity, and it is a longer game. The first time you play it might be difficult to finish the entire war in a single sitting, but it touches on a lot of the historical decisions that all the powers faced in World War I. Fantastic decisions that it involves, a really good sense of history, and they managed to do it with such a playable and accessible rule set. A remarkable game. More people should explore this one. Fantastic strategic level introductory war game. Downfall of Empires from Do It Games. Game number 8 on my list was actually game number 2 on my list in the previous video. It's here, but it's fallen. I'll talk about why. The Shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle Games. This is a solitaire or 2-player game, although the game by far shines in 2-player mode. It's about the First Barbary War, US versus Tripolitan pirates in the Mediterranean in the early 1800s. Fantastic sense of history. Absolutely exquisite design, a subtlety and depth to gameplay, and it can be playable in 2 hours, an hour or less once you understand the rules. Very easy to learn, fantastic beginning wargame experience. Why has it fallen? The only thing I'll say about this game is when I brought it out as an introductory game, I think learning the cards and understanding the subtleties of play takes about 2, 3, 4 games before people start to grasp onto it. So I have seen in some cases where I've introduced this as a war game to people where they've played it and they didn't quite get it. So I think this is a fantastic choice if you have someone that you know you can play this game 2 or 3 times with. We're going to be able to start to explain some of the subtleties of tactics and strategy and card play that they should be looking for. Fantastic introductory game, absolutely exquisite sense of history, as does everything from Fort Circle Games. The Shores of Tripoli in the top 20 at number 8 for a 2-player game, introductory war game. Game number 7 on my list is probably one of 2 games that were most recommended that I try out for this video, one of which here I'm trying, and it did make it at number 7 on the list, Memoir 44. Now this is one of a dozens of Memoir 44 products and expansions and games. This is the one I have. And to be fair, I've actually not played the box version yet. I've played this on Board Game Arena probably about 30 times this year. Fantastic introductory experience. It's got card-based play, and this one is, Memoir 44, 1944, set in World War II, but there's a wide range of games in this series. The board is divided up into 3 spheres, and you have cards that allow you to take action in 1, 2, or sometimes all of those spheres. So you're playing your cards to take different actions and trying to defeat your opponent. An incredibly wide range of missions and scenarios and theaters that you can explore with this series. So if you do get this one, the beginning one, the first one, and you like it, you've got a world of gameplay beyond this. And the nice thing about this and why it's so high on my list of best introductory war games, this connects to the Command and Colors series from GMT Games, which involves a wider range and more complex choices. So this is a great gateway into those more complex war games that have Napoleonics and Ancients and a ton more gameplay, almost a subgenre of war games in itself. This is a great gateway into that aspect of wargaming. Fantastic 2-player experience, Memoir 44. Number 6 on the list was game number 4 on the list 2 years ago. It's dropped 2 places, but after playing dozens of games, it's high praise to see it stay so high on the list. Lanzerath Ridge, designed by David Thompson and Niels Johansson. This game set in the Battle of the Bulge, so it's got immediate appeal to people who might be casually interested in World War II history. You take charge of a group of about 20 of American soldiers trying to fight off the first waves of German attackers during the Battle of Bulge in December 1944. Fantastic connections to more complicated war game mechanics. I should say too, this is a solitaire game, but it's great to play cooperatively as well. Absolutely is fantastic. Easy to learn, plays fun, visually appealing. It meets every single criteria on our list of best beginner games. Fantastic experience, and you've got the historical connections to some things, things that people will already know. Absolutely a fantastic way to introduce yourself or someone else to wargaming. Lanzerath Ridge from DVG Games. Getting close to the end now. Game number 5 is a game I just recently discovered. Gettysburg, A Time from Heroes, designed by Yves Roy and Andy Lokes, and published by Worthington Publishing. So many good things to say about this 2-player game that also has a very strong solo system that's been added to it since publication. So this works for 2 players as well as solitaire. Gettysburg, for one thing. So it's a game, it's a battle that people are familiar with in the United States. It's got historical significance. The game has relatively few units. It's an easy system to learn how to play. It looks beautiful. And the way the game starts to progress, you're not overwhelmed by the number of forces that you have to manage. So the game builds up in complexity as you play into it. Very replayable because of the way that units appear differently each time you play. Fantastic historical connections. Just a marvelous solitaire and 2-player game that's perfectly suited for introductory war games. The only caveat I have is the rulebook, which is a little bit tricky to figure out if you're figuring it out on your own. If the rulebook were improved on this one, this might go actually very close to the top of my list. As it is, it works really well if you can get someone to teach this to you. If you're learning it on your own, just be a little bit patient with the rulebook and look up any questions you have on Board Game Geek. It's worth it. Gettysburg, A Time from Heroes from Worthington Publishing, number 5 on our list of best beginner war games. Number 4 on the list was our number 3 on the list in the previous video. It has a special place in my heart because it's the game that brought me back into board wargaming. Sherman Leader from DVG Games. Now, there are a lot of leader games, and a number of people tell me that there are several leader games that they consider to be better than Sherman Leader, and that may be the case. This is the one that I've had the experience with so far, and I absolutely love the campaign, the mission gameplay. It's easy to get into. It just spins such a narrative as you care about your troops and your soldiers, and you see them experience and level up, and then they die and you're crushed. But it's just got such drama, such tension. The missions can go either which way. Fantastic wargaming experience. Now, this is more of a game than a simulation, so there is that caveat to it. But this is the game that got me back into wargaming after about a 20-25 year hiatus. So I'm extremely grateful to Sherman Leader from DVG Games, number 4 on our list of top beginner wargames. Game number 3 on our list is a newcomer to the list. This might be another one that you haven't heard that much about, another hidden gem, I think you would say, in the world of introductory wargames. The Hunt from Salt and Pepper Games, designed by Matthias Kramer and Engin Kunter. It's 1939, and you're going to play either the German forces and control the Graf Spee, or you're going to control the Commonwealth forces trying to hunt down and sink the Graf Spee. Happens in the Atlantic Ocean, fantastic hidden movement, card play. The artwork is so beautiful. It plays in under an hour. If you look at our checklist of things that you want in an introductory war game, it hits on every single one of them. Now, this is a two-player game. It's got hidden movement, and you're writing down the movement for your German forces off on another piece of paper, so it's got some secret play. You don't want to get this for solitaire, but for a two-player game that can introduce people to war games, the artwork, the gameplay, everything just draws people in. It's a fantastic experience. Number 3 on our list, The Hunt. Number 2 on our list was the previous number 1 best beginner war game in the previous video. So the king has been overthrown, but not by much, only dropping 1 space. I think this should be on any type of top war game list. Another hidden gem. Absolutely marvelous game and great for introducing people to wargaming. By Stealth and Sea, designed by David Thompson and Nicola Saghini. You might be sensing a David Thompson theme with this list, by the way. He makes and partners with designers that make accessible, fun games. So this game is a solitaire or a cooperative game in which you take charge of Italian frogmen in World War II and on a series of missions that can be stretched out into a full campaign. These are the people that rode manned torpedoes into British harbors in the Mediterranean and tried to sink British ships. The sense of history with this game is absolutely astounding. The gameplay is so tense and riveting, and it's got a dynamic campaign, so your frogmen can gain experience, be carried over to the next missions and survive, and they're going to die, and you're going to be sad, but it's all connected so tightly to the actual historical events that these frogmen and these missions these frogmen went on. It is a marvelous gem in wargaming, and the reason it's number 2 on the introductory games list is that it's a very accessible rule set. You can learn this on your own. It's great as cooperative, so you get 2 people playing together you can experience this way. The only thing I'll say is, don't let the first mission deter you. The first mission, you are going to die, not die, but you're going to fail. It's a really hard first mission, which is historically the case, and then you get beyond that and things get much better. But play the dynamic campaign with this one. It is absolutely marvelous. By Stealth and Sea from DVG Games, number 2 on our list of best introductory war games. So as we get to number 1 on our list, the question is, what game do you think has overthrown our previous king? I bet some of you who are familiar with the channel can guess, but let's not delay. The number 1 best introductory war game currently on my list, my go-to game for introducing people to tabletop war games, is none other than Undaunted by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin and Osprey Games. Now, why is this game on the list? Now, this one we're looking at actually is Undaunted Reinforcements. This is the big box that you can put Undaunted Normandy. There's Undaunted North Africa. We also have Undaunted the Battle of Britain. And then, should you really like it, the absolutely marvelous campaign game in Undaunted Stalingrad. So there is a family of games for you to dig into. Why is it on the list? It's easy to learn. It plays fast in under an hour for most games. It's extremely tactical, which means that people can understand it. I've played with people and they immediately get how to play. I played with my son. He immediately picked up the rules and then promptly thrashed me in our first game. Beautiful artwork, it just pulls you all in, and there is so much gameplay in the system. Now, this is by and large a 2-player game. This is a 2-player experience. However, and this is a 2-player experience. However, Undaunted Normandy has the Undaunted Reinforcements by which you can add solo experiences to it as well. I do think it's stronger as a 2-player experience, but it can work solo for experiencing it very well too. Absolutely marvelous system. Start out with Undaunted Normandy and get Undaunted Reinforcements if you want to explore the solitaire play with it. It is so perfect for introducing wargaming to other players. Now, it is a little bit on the gamey side as opposed to a simulation and a tactical simulation side, but still, it forces interesting decisions on it. The mechanics are so smooth and clever. The way it creates confusion in battlefields, all of the different systems make it just such a marvelous choice for introducing people to wargaming. Our new king of introductory war games, the Undaunted system from Osprey Games. So So we finished our top 20 games, but I mentioned in the beginning of this video that this is an evolving project. So it's never one that's going to be over as new games are published and I check out new games. So what I want to do for these last few minutes is to present to you 15 games that I think are candidates for the list that I hope to play in the near future and then add to another update of this video down the line. I want to try to make this a little bit more of a regular thing, maybe an annual or 6-month type of thing. So without any further delay, I'm going to show 15 candidates that I've either got, have picked up, but haven't played or in the process of playing, or are future games that even haven't been released yet that could be, I think, very good candidates to be in this top 20 list. I want to start out with a game that I know is going to be on the list somewhere because I've played enough of it to know that I really like it. I just haven't played enough to know where it quite is on the list. Halls of Hegra. Halls of Hegra is a solitaire game where you play as Norwegian defenders in a mountain fortress against German attackers. It's set in World War II. It's got tremendous historical background to it. And you're either holding the German defenders off at bay or trying to keep your fortress alive, clearing away snow. It's a fabulous, very brutally difficult game where you're trying to allocate your various soldiers to perform tasks to keep everything functional and not lose your fortress hold. I've played enough of this one to know that it's really good. I just haven't played it recently enough to know where on the list it's going to go. So this will definitely be on the next list. Sherman Leader is a game that's currently on our list at a very high spot, but I do want to mention that, and I'm aware of, that there are other leader games that a lot of people think are better than Sherman Leader, some of which I hope to play and check out as to being possible candidates to be on the list as well. We've got things like Hornet Leader, there's B-17 leaders, there's more coming from DVG Games. There is a family of these leader games, many of them, if not all of them, outstanding games and outstanding candidates to be on this list of best introductory war games. A simply fantastic suite of solitaire games. Could be a very high candidate for the list is called Pavlov's House. Now, I mentioned Lanzerath Ridge, and that's in a series of games, the Valiant Defense series from DVG Games. And the one I've heard extremely good things about is Pavlov's House, but I haven't picked it up yet. I haven't played it. I think that will make a great candidate for a high spot on the list. This is a game, again, where you're trying to hold off German defenders in Pavlov's House in the Battle of Stalingrad, fighting to keep your troops alive. This is one that was probably the most commonly mentioned game with Memoir 44 on the previous video of top introductory games that I hadn't played. And so I included in here as another one. I've yet to play it. I know, so many games, so little time, but I should play it. I know. Axis and Allies. So this game doesn't really need any introduction, but I've heard so many good things about it. I think it does meet a lot of the qualifications and criteria that we established as a war game and as an introductory war game for this list. Just haven't had time and made time to play it yet. I think it could have a very high spot on the list. I'm hopeful to get it on the next one, but Axis and Allies definitely a candidate for this list. Another game that I just picked up that I'm pretty sure could get a top spot on the list, very different type of game than any of the other ones that are on there, is War Story, Occupied France, designed by David Neal and David Thompson. David Thompson has been on the list a lot. He makes fantastically accessible war games, so anything that he creates, I think, is a candidate for this list. In this game, it's a 1 to 6 player game where you play the role of French operatives trying to hold the German Gestapo at bay in World War II. That's about as much as I know about it right now, but I've heard it spins amazing narratives. It's a narrative-based, I think there's a choose-your-own-adventure type element in it. Not having played it, I don't know, but I've heard fantastic things about it, and I've also heard that it's a very easy game to pick up and play. So I'm excited to try this one, War Story, Occupied France. Another game that falls somewhat in the Shelf of Shame challenge. This was a game that a bunch of people mentioned in the previous video as well. I feel like I should have played this one by now, but I haven't. And I do think it's a candidate for top introductory war games. And I'm sure I know there's a lot of you out there watching this right now that say, yes, finally, he mentioned this. Warfighter, World War II tactical combat card game. There are a bunch of games in this series. This is the core World War II tactical version of the wide series, and there's a lot of expansions and things. It's a card-based game where each card is a soldier and you're trying to accomplish various missions. I've seen it played. It looks great. And from what I've seen, I think it's a very strong candidate to be on the list, but it's a solitaire game as well. I just haven't had time to play it, hadn't made time to play it. So maybe for the next video, this one will be on there. Next game is a very new game that just came out a couple of weeks ago from Compass Games. It's World War II Commander Volume 2 Market Garden, designed by John Butterfield. John Butterfield is a fantastic designer, and this is a area control. So you're not using hexes, but there are areas representing the Battle of Market Garden in World War II. Very popular operation in World War II. A lot of history behind it. The rules look very straightforward. There's not a lot of counters. So this looks like a very entry-level war game, and John Butterfield designed some just amazing stuff. So I think this one could be a very strong candidate for the top introductory war games list. There is also a Battle of the Bulge version of this game, so that as well could be one that I could look at too. But another one as a candidate for the upcoming list. This is a game that when I made the previous video, I hadn't heard much about. But when I finished the video, a bunch of people said this is one I should look at. Field Commander Alexander. This is a solitaire game that lets you play the role of Alexander in 4 historical campaigns. A bunch of people suggested this one. I managed to pick up a copy, and I haven't played it yet. But I do think it's got potential. I've heard it's easy to learn. I've heard it's tremendously fun as a solitaire game, and with 4 campaigns in the box, a ton of gameplay. So I've heard good things about this one. Haven't played it yet. Another great Hex Encounters game that I've heard a lot about, a 2-player game, 1944 Battle of the Bulge from Worthington Publishing. This is a game that's a very simple Hex Encounters game about the Battle of the Bulge, which of course is a great game to introduce people to wargaming because it's so commonly known and popular. A lot of the Battle of the Bulge games are fairly complex. This one I've heard plays fast. It's really straightforward with a good rule set and involves some fantastic decisions. I've heard nothing but good things about this one. Looking forward to getting it to the table. Next game is a game that might not fit into the classic wargame category, but I've heard a number of wargamers say that it's definitely a wargame with a lot of wargame aspects, and it fits probably in that subgenre of games, get the pun, where you are playing the role of a plane or a tank or a submarine or a ship and going over a campaign. Nemo's War, which of course is based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You take charge of a submarine and go on fantastic missions. I've heard it tells an amazing story with great decisions, is very accessible, and connects to a lot of war game mechanics. I just haven't had a chance yet to check it out on my own, but I think this is another one that's definitely a candidate for the list. Next game is a game that I won at a raffle at a games convention. I don't know much about it, but it looks good. I haven't played it yet though. Waterloo Solitaire. It's solitaire, it looks easy to learn, and it's about the Battle of Waterloo, which of course is very appealing. So other than that, I don't know too much about it, but it does look quite good. So I think it's a candidate for the list. Have any one of you out there played it? I'd be curious to know. I'm looking forward to giving this one a try and seeing where it might fit on the list. Next up, I want to mention 4 games that aren't published yet that I have my eye on that I think could make candidates for this list. The first is High Seas Fleet. Now this is a Compass Games game that's modeled after the old War at Sea games from Avalon Hill, except High Seas Fleet takes us to World War I. Brilliant idea. War at Sea, if you're not familiar with it, it's an area-based naval game that dates back to the 1970s, maybe 1980s. That was the one I remember is the one in the Atlantic during World War II. But this game takes us to the World War I naval campaigns. So it should be simple gameplay, should be interesting decisions. The graphics look fantastic. So I think this could be a great game for introducing people to war games. I should mention too that these candidates are in no particular order. I'm just bringing them up off the top of my head here. But the next game is Night Witches. This is designed by David Thompson and Liz Davidson. This is a game set in World War II where you take charge of female Russian pilots. This is based on actual history that run various aircraft missions over the German lines during World War II. I got a chance to play an early prototype of this. Very accessible, very fun, and just seeped with history. It's going to be published by Fort Circle Games, which I'm sure will layer in all of their historical artifacts to bring the story of these women to light in a game format that's going to be incredibly fun to play. Sticking with Fort Circle Games, another game. This game was actually a candidate on the previous video 2 years ago. It's been stuck a little bit in some production issues with tariffs and other things, but Halls of Montezuma. Halls of Montezuma takes the shores of Tripoli and takes that type of gameplay from Fort Circle Games, which is number 8 on our current list, and brings it to the Mexican-American War. So I think this game, I played a prototype of this game. It's a lot of fun, similar gameplay, some different interesting decisions. And I think, again, with Fort Circle, they're going to just seep and kind of layer in the history to tell the story of the conflict and give you a great gameplay experience. Halls of Montezuma from Fort Circle Games, a definite candidate. Last but not least is another game that's currently in crowdfunding from Worthington Publishing called The Battles of the American Revolution, Battles of War of 1812, and Battles of the American-Mexican War. Each one of these 3 games in this short series contains 2 games inside the box with Hex Encounters games with a very low counter set. These look very accessible. They look like they're going to be fun games to play. Worthington does a great job with their production values with games. So I think these almost look like mini Hex Encounters games that you can dig into in a very short period of time. Very curious to see how these turn out, but I think they could be good candidates for our top introductory war games list. And that brings us to the end of our journey, my top 20 introductory war games in a ranked list, as well as 15 candidates that I think make contenders to be added to the list at some point in the future. I'll get busy playing the candidates, but in the meantime, which of these games do you think is on the list that shouldn't be there? What games did I miss? What games on the list do you like and agree with? I'd be curious to hear your comments down below. If you liked this video, you may also like the latest edition of our upcoming War Games video, which is a monthly video that covers the wargaming industry, which games are in production and crowdfunding, games that caught my eye that are coming up in the future. It's a great way to keep up with developments in wargaming and new games that are coming in the pipeline. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.